Hey guys, welcome to Camp Aura. I'm Andrew, I'm the camp director here, and this is my wife Jen.
Hey guys, I'm the marketing and communications director here at Camp Aura. I also get to run the Gidunk, which is our really great camp store. We do cocoa bombs and all kinds of fun stuff at our events and our programs. And then I get to do our swag, our Camp Aura hats and patches and shirts and sweatshirts and all that really awesome stuff that you see online.
Pretty smooth. You say swag and you grab your hat.
You like
Got Camp Aura on there. That's nice.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to do something a little different. Normally we're on Facebook and doing promotional videos, kind of telling you what's got coming up, but we're super excited about this survival retreat coming up in December. It's December 4th through the 6th is the first one. We're going to have two more coming up very soon after that, but really with this one in December, we want to do something different. And we've had a lot of people calling and asking like, hey, you know, what is this about? What can I bring? What are we going to be doing? Some people are really stoked, trying to get others to get involved. And we want to do some videos, kind of just give you an intro to what we're going to be talking about, maybe give you a little leg up if you watch these, and talk about what you can do to help pack. And even if you're not here for the retreat, it's something that maybe you can use really on an everyday life and just kind of help being prepared.
Yeah, and our retreat is really, I mean, we created it for people who want to just learn some basic survival stuff and how to apply it. And these videos just give everybody a head, you know, what word am I looking for here?
I don't know what word we're talking about.
Yeah,
a head start.
Yeah. I don't know where the
head start. I don't know where that, like disco. Yeah.
But it gives everybody a head start because the weekend is going to be so incredibly packed with lots of stuff to learn. So
yeah, we have filled every minute of it, and it's going to be a good time. Now, we're not experts. We both have doctorates in Google.
True.
But we're not going to be.
Except for how to use Google.
Yeah, I don't use Google well. Yeah, those that know me probably know that. You know, but I'm coming from an experience that, so I just retired from the Navy after 20 years, and I flew in helicopters and was an instructor at a few other things. Shout out to all the guys that I've served with, miss you guys. But one of the trainings that they provided for us was SEER training, and they taught us how to, you know, survive essentially and evade. You know,
there's two other letters there, right?
There's a few other letters, but we're not going to like get into the weeds of those manuals and go into depths because they're really
our training's based on some other stuff as well.
Some other stuff, not really evading an enemy, right? So we're not talking about being behind enemy lines. Although I guess
consider a bear an enemy.
I guess a bear could be, and you know, there's probably some people out there prepping for, you know, the end of days or a collapse. I mean. Stuff coming up. So, but we are going to pull from that experience. And then prior to my 20 years in the Navy, I was in scouting. It was a really active part of my life. My dad and I took part in, and we did Cub Scouts, and I was in sports and a lot of other things, but really scouting was a focus in my life. And as I got into Boy Scouts, I earned the rank of Eagle. And that's something that has been with me, like, really in just every integral part of my life, and even with us and the kids. I was
going to say, it's really carried over into your adult life and into us as parents and into our kids' lives. Our son is playing producer Connor right now, so I'm pointing at him. But yeah, we go on family vacations, and it's like, okay, we're going to the lake, so let's throw everybody in the lake with Grandpa's clothes on and pretend there's a boat crash and teach them how to turn their clothes into flotation devices. And
yeah, it's something all families do. I mean, I think they should.
Yeah. Our kids' favorite three words slung together are team building exercise. Not so much.
Yeah, Connor's shaking his head right now. You can't see, but so that's really where our experience comes from. And really here at this survival retreats, we're going to pull from both of those on a lot of stuff that we've also learned from our own camping and survival experiences that we like to go on our own and do. So we're anxious to have you guys, and you know, with that being said, we're anxious to have some other people come and really learn from them too, and just to see all the different techniques and everything that we do. And
we know how much we've learned from practicing and from doing things. So I know there's a ton of other people out there that aren't experts, but they've become experts in little things that they have a lot to teach. Yeah, I'm excited.
So let's talk about why we're actually here and just get into the video. So really for the next 6 weeks, including this week, we're going to do videos, and we're going to cover some basic skills of survival, and really the 7 skills that we're going to hone in on. Now, really this comes from the scouting side more so, and they are tweaked a little bit. However, if you're working on your wilderness survival merit badges, or maybe you've completed it as a scout, you're going to see a lot of similarities here because, you know, if it's not broke, we don't need to fix it. And I will talk about some of the things out on the military side that really went into some of that detail that it's going to be great to add into this training that we're doing. So
It's really the great benefit of pulling from all of your life experience. You have these different perspectives. It's great.
yeah. And for those that served me, I had this nickname that kind of stuck with me, and it was Black Cloud, and it was not for any other reason that
You've been through a few emergencies.
I've had a few events in my life that we've had to overcome, and I'd love to share some of those, but maybe some in the comments that we put in from those that I've served with.
Maybe at the retreat over a bonfire.
Yeah. So this week we're going to talk about two of those topics, or two of those skills, would you say? The first one is an acronym, which it is Scouts, but really, I mean, ever since we've been married, I think you've really just fallen in love with acronyms.
I mean, ABC Soup is my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, there's the military puts an acronym together, and I think we watch The Office.
You watch The Office.
I think
just get stuck with
the kids and I watch The Office, and I think about that episode when Kevin's talking about, he takes out a few letters to save time,
Make it easier.
and it doesn't, and that's really, I think some of these acronyms do. But the first acronym is STOP. Yeah, and
none of it's self-explanatory at all.
yeah, none of it is. Yeah, no.
You'll never guess what the first.
You'll never guess what the S stands for. It's
Stop.
It's actually stop. Yeah. So STOP is the first letter in STOP, the acronym. So let's just talk about the scenario, because really these skills could be applied anywhere in life, as they come up. But there's going to be, today's video is really honed in on our survival retreat here at Camp Ara. And we're going to have an event that happens or takes place. But the setting is, we're walking through the national park, and we got like the family with us, right?
Sure. Yeah, because that adds a level of difficulty with 5 kids, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and we're going to be walking through, and we all have day packs on, backpacks, because, some essentials that we might have or need. It could be food and whatever other stuff. I don't want to give anything away too soon yet.
But no tents. No, we're not doing
no
overnight,
tents.
just a day hike.
The plan is just to go out, come back, and get a good long hike in. And
we've really thought through this hypothetical situation.
And an event happens, and that event could be a lot of different things. It could be an unexpected storm that comes up. Maybe somebody slips and falls on the trail.
A husband not reading a map, getting us lost.
Maybe we got
That would never
lost.
happen.
Although I probably shouldn't be teaching orienteering or land nav
If you can't read a map.
if I can't read a map. Yeah, well, that's another
You really
program,
can't read
guys.
a map, I swear.
Yeah, so somebody gets lost, you take a wrong turn, it happens, and we come to a point where we have a decision to make that we're not going to make it out before dark, and
It's so dramatic.
it is dramatic. I feel like there
Make
should
it
be
out.
some music like playing in right now.
Connor, cue the dramatic music.
And at that point we have to enter the survival situation.
What do we do now?
Yeah, and what do we do? And really in this case, so we've been on the hike, and we have to figure out, okay, what is our first step? And our first step is, the skill is stop,
Right.
and the S is stop. And it means it quite literally, like we need to stop where we're at. But what else does that mean?
Well, so for me, I mean, stopping is more than just physically stopping. I think that's more of a contributor of enabling you to stop. But it's to just pause, mentally, emotionally, take a breath, just recoup from whatever it is that caused you to kind of go into a frenzy or a panic.
Yeah, and I think that's the key point there, is that a lot of times when an event happens, panic, anxiety, fear really can take over. And in some cases, it can quickly lead to shock, and then people freeze. And
Well, fear is the most debilitating emotion, I read. And I would imagine anything else kind of just really takes the backseat. And you have to push through that in order to pull your senses back together, right?
Yeah, that's good. And, so we got to stop. And it really leads into the next thing. And this kind of comes naturally as you practice it. But it's S is stop, and then T is think. And I know it sounds like, man, we're back in grade school, but these are really crucial things to do.
Well, and when you're afraid and you're in a bad situation, common sense things aren't what you're thinking about.
Yeah, and if we don't practice things like what we're doing at the retreat here in December, then your natural reaction might not be the right reaction.
Right.
And we got to really put those trades into practice. So we're going to stop physically and mentally what we're doing, and try to control our emotions, and we're going to think about what's going on. Let's just get a good snapshot. And a lot of us like to take control, and some like to let up control, but I think it's really important everybody that's there with you really take part into this and think, because with different perspectives, you might get more of the picture.
Right. And I think that, if you're by yourself, stopping and thinking about what's going on, calming down is probably pretty simple. It's just you're in control of everything within your own body. Whereas like if we're there with kids, if we're already lost, we're probably irritated at one another already. Our kids are tired. We've been hiking all day. So getting everybody to that point where everyone is stopping and taking a breath and calming down can be harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
But it's necessary.
Kind of like an airplane, you might need to calm yourself down before you put the mask on the person next to you, But yeah, absolutely. So we're going to stop. We're going to think about what's going on, and that's going to lead into the O of stop. And what is the O? And I kid her because we have fun with this.
Observe.
It is observe.
If you saw the last couple of you didn't see the last couple of bloopers, but evaluate is definitely not observe.
Yeah.
It's a simile, right? Or
it is.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean, kind of.
Yeah, for those instructors out there, the law of primacy, make sure you remember the first thing you heard, not the law of recency.
Observe.
Yeah, so we're going to observe, and there's so many things to observe in an event. And it could be like inclement weather coming in. If you maybe you didn't plan, or maybe the weather guy is not always right, or girl, and this dark cloud came up, and no pun intended, but,
black cloud.
this black cloud comes overhead, and you didn't expect it. You got to be observing, like, all right, am I going to have time is it moving fast? Right. What is it? What time of year are we at?
Well, and this is where I keep coming back to the fact that the think step and the observe step really go hand in hand. You're doing all of those things at the same time, simultaneously, continuously, until you get to the point where you can move on to the next step.
Yeah, and then next step is kind of a crucial thing also, and really this is all that first immediate step, and it's the plan. And there's a few different types of planning here, and they're really just based on the perspective of your events. But there's short, mid, and long range planning. And it could be a lot of different things. The short, immediate plan could be, what are we doing in the next minutes? Do we need to get off the trail? Do we need to find shelter? Are we able to hike?
Do we need to deal with that right now?
What is it going on? Then we have a midterm and a long term. And ultimately, in our scenario with being kind of lost or stuck in the woods, and we're not going to make it out before nightfall, the long-term plan is to get out safely with everybody.
So I guess the point right here is that the short, long, mid, it's all relative to what your situation is. If you were on a 5-day hike, short, mid, and long are going to be much different than if they are just a day hike where we just got to deal with overnight once. Yeah,
and the application here for another actual life, not hiking. If you're in a car accident, there's a lot of things that this applies to also.
Absolutely.
To be able to stop, think, observe, and plan. You're doing really all of these in any of those life events. So it's not just for wilderness survival, although that's our scenario. And talking about the military side, now the first step, and there's a couple different publications because that's where we get our info from. A couple of different publications, they really cram a lot into step one. Now again, take in mind that most of the time these survival publications and training in the military is set up for evading an enemy. You're caught, you're not anticipating to be caught behind enemy lines. You crash the helicopter, something happens. Again, we're not going to dive in those weeds, but it crams pretty much everything here to include shelter, water.
There's a lot of survival skills.
And they want low silhouette shelters. They want to take everything as far as movement into being quiet and undetected. But one thing it really does have in common is the immediate action is to calm down, to stop and think. There's the immediate action. Do not go crazy. They do add a lot of the emotional factors and psychological factors, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But
let's face it, when you're in a situation, any situation, whether it's fear, anger, frustration, whatever, if you don't control those emotions before you react, chances are you're going to make whatever the situation is worse. And that's really what we're trying to teach you to take the steps to avoid.
Absolutely. And the second skill that we're going to talk about today, or the second topic, is actually first aid. Mm-hmm. And now there's a lot of talking, and we're set up in the woods here.
Right in front of our Eagle Field.
Right in front of Eagle Field, which we're actually going to be doing land nav and orienteering programs in. But
it's a video for another day.
It is. So really, with that said, both of these, it's just a lot of conversation that we're going to have. And there's a lot of pre-training and a lot of just kind of practicing before you are in these situations to kind of get you set up for success
this is really
a little bit.
A prelude to hands-on training.
And the rest of the weeks, we're going to be out and we're going to be doing hands-on stuff. But really talking about first aid, there's a lot of basics. So we were just talking about STOP, which stands for Stop, Think, Observe, and Plan. And moving into the next skill, which is first aid. And first aid is a really important thing. Now, with that, both of these aren't just, hey, this is step one and forget about it.
Right.
We're actually going to be able to, this is something that you're going to be constantly using throughout. It's just important that this is your first step, although you're going to use it later on and really throughout as it's an ongoing thing. So
yeah, a good example would be, you're in whatever the situation is, you've gone through the STOP process and now you've moved on to whatever your plan is, but then you have a kid with you and then they fall and get hurt in the midst of that. So it's another event within an event and you have to just reevaluate and be flexible.
Yeah, and that's really just kind of setting it up that you can't prepare for any trip. You can't expect that it's going to be, we used to say when we were flying the helicopter and we were doing training for some of the new crewmen is that the helicopter doesn't let you know that, hey, I'm about to have this exact problem and that's what we're going to study for.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, and that's just not how life works and that's not how the wilderness works. So although you can prepare for a lot of things, the situation, even though they might be two of the same events, you're going to handle them differently all the time. So just being adaptive.
Sure, even just who you're with is going to change how you approach a situation.
Yeah, I think of if I was hiking by myself versus hiking with you, I mean, it's going to be a completely different trip, So normally, like for me, I can carry a backpack, but with her, we got to carry 2 or 3 because of the coffee. So talking about first aid, there's a lot of basics. And as we talk about first aid has some purpose to it. And I think about that. And do you know what the purpose of first aid is?
Maybe. I don't know the exact words. Basically, you want to stop further injury. You want to promote them getting better. And you want to, and I can never remember the third one.
Yeah, so.
First one.
Yeah. To preserve life.
That's the one. It's an important detail.
Prevent further injury and to promote recovery. So, and that's a lot of people think that if I'm not having this gushing laceration from my arm or somewhere else, or I don't have a broken leg, that we don't have to do first aid.
Right.
But in our scenario specifically, and this could be again applied anywhere, is that once we have our event, we've already been hiking for a while. Yeah. And again, by the time we decide that, hey, we have to do something because we're not going to make it back by nightfall, it's been probably most of the day. And some things that we got to worry about aren't quite so visible, but...
No, right. I mean, I think about, again, the hypothetical situation, and you're hiking for a few hours. Maybe you've had a couple sips of water here and there when you've stopped, but you could be dehydrated. If it's been hot, you could be overheating. Heat stroke is a huge, huge problem if it happens. If it's really cold, same thing, overexposure to the cold, looking at frostbite, that kind of things. And then we talk about the other aspects of first aid.
Yeah, and if you're making a plan prior to going out, which is we always recommend, to make a plan before you go hiking or doing anything. Maybe you had the plan of coming back that night and you drank all the water and ate all the food, so...
Or your kids.
Or your kids did. I mean, I think of us having all the teenagers that we have, the food had been gone
before we got hiking.
Probably before we left, yeah. So some of those first aid things that we want to address at that point, hey, we need to address dehydration. Maybe your socks are wet from hiking all day.
Blisters.
Yeah, you got blisters.
Take care of your feet, man.
Yep, so don't ignore the things that you can't see. As the event starts, now it doesn't mean to do like a full triage. That doesn't mean stop everything because I got a blister. You just kind of evaluate it and figure out, okay, where am I at? What am I going to do? How's it going to affect me long term and through my plan? And then there's some other aspects of first aid that are also unseen. So Jen really is into, in fact, we both watch them, a lot of these survival shows. They're usually late at night, but one that she's really been stuck on is Alone. And if you've watched Alone, it's where they go out by themselves, right? And
yeah, they go out on their own, usually to Vancouver Island, somewhere really cold, in the dead of winter. They're completely isolated. They're recording everything on their own, which is stressful enough. But then they have to deal with all the elements, dehydration, malnutrition, and then what gets really most of them outside of that is the loneliness, the not having that ability to just withstand being alone with their own thoughts for a long period of time.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget about that stuff too, and that's really kind of the first aid that's...
Not that that's going to play a huge part in this, but the mental fortitude aspect.
And I would even say that it might play a part in some. There's some of you guys that are coming to our retreat that haven't spent a night in the woods without a tent before, and maybe it's the first time you've been away from home or away from your significant other and coming out. Not to mention, we got some critters in the woods. We got some bears and cougars, mountain lions, and bobcats. Of course, we got deer and raccoon. And it's not to scare anybody, but a lot of people get timid around those, and just hearing those noises can make them mentally unstable.
Sure.
So it's finding those and how to cope and deal with those. Sometimes it's just having there somebody with you. Maybe it's some items, but you don't want to forget about any of these things. So really the first two skills that we're talking about this week is STOP, which stands for
Stop, think, observe, plan.
Man, we've gone through that a few times. Connor's clapping right now. And the second one is first aid. So those are the first two things. Again, that doesn't mean do it and forget it. We're going to be using those throughout. But next week, it's going to lean into the next one. But before we talk about what's next week, we've got this tin can here. Now, our scenario is we're bringing a backpack, right? And that's what, for all you guys coming.
You.
Yeah, you're coming.
Retreat, you're bringing a backpack full.
And we're going to play that. We're going to play along as instructors also. So you're going to bring a day pack, anything that you would put in that day pack, and anything you want that would be considered a. Now, some of you guys, I'm sure, are going to try to squeeze every little bit of thing. Well, technically, this is a day pack. You're going to come with these big kit bags or
a week-long hike.
Yeah, it's not a 3-day bag or anything else. But again, you're going to be able to pull anything out of that backpack now. The whole idea behind that is that way you don't come with a truckload of supplies and just be able to take out whatever you want.
Or no hiking supplies.
Or no, yeah. So we want you to bring some stuff, anything you can fit in a backpack. And then as we do training before we go out in the woods, we're going to have you guys take anything from the backpack only, and you're going to condense it down to a tin can.
But again, that's going to be you doing that, not us. And it's as you go throughout the 2 days of training, as you acquire more knowledge and really understand what you can do, multi-use of different things and things like that.
Yeah, so you're going to get a can. Now, let's say you bring a friend. Your friend will get a can also. So you guys will be able to, you could choose to work together.
Team up.
And, so if we both brought a can, we could choose to bring things that we're going to put into our same shelter, our same food. Or you guys could all bring it with the individual cans and try to do everything individually. Right. Really, the choice is yours, but we're going to be limited to each person only takes this tin can and anything you can put in it. So each week as we do a video, we're going to kind of just share something that we would put in about the topic that we covered that video. So this week we had we had STOP and we had first aid. And we both picked out something. Now, this isn't all-inclusive.
You could add a whole ton of things in here, or a vast array of things.
Yeah, and there is no right survival kit. I would say that if you take anything, you're just giving yourself a little bit more preparedness.
Absolutely.
And taking something that you know how to use comfortably is another important factor. So be careful about getting on Amazon or any of the other websites and just buying
I'll buy this then.
all the survival kits because if you got all that stuff, that's really great. But if you don't know how to use it, it could be some troublesome and not really help benefit.
True.
Now, we both kind of did first aid because STOP is more of just an inward practice and tool that we're going to carry with us. So first aid for me is we're going to be doing this in December. And if I haven't already explained, I've done it in a few other videos, and it's on our website, you don't get to take a lighter or matches with you. In fact, all of our fire starting, that if you choose to start a fire, it's not required.
Highly recommended.
Yeah, it's going to be primitive. So you can bring flint and steel. You can bring a magnesium block. You could bring
9-volt battery.
Sure.
And a what are they called?
Steel wool.
Steel wool.
Yep. There's some MacGyver ways. There's some primitive ways. You could bring stuff to make a bow staff, to do friction. Anything, again, that you can fit in this can.
Or find in the woods.
Or find in the woods at our event site. So I chose, there's nothing worse than being cold. So I brought a hand warmer. I put it in the can. And this one, there's a lot of different kinds out there. This one is a large size to put close to extremities, up underneath.
On my toes.
Yeah, she would put it in her toes. I would fight her over this. Maybe we would put two if we were together. You can put one in your can. But the thing is multi-use, of trying to get multi-use out of anything you put in this can. I think that's really important. Is space limited? So I'm not going to take it out of this bag. I'm going to use this bag because I can use a bag for other things. Right. And I think that's really important. What did you choose?
So for me, we could have gone off on a first aid tangent and put in, Bactrin, first aid,
anesthetics
anesthetics, Band-Aids, gauze, things like that, which are all great choices.
Antiseptic, not anesthetic. Yeah.
Yeah, don't bring anesthetic.
Yeah.
But I chose the mental aspect. So for me, like a really obvious mental thing is you get out here, you're in the woods, you're hearing noises, it's very, very dark, and if you don't have a fire started yet, it could be intimidating, the sounds and not being able to see anything. So for me, being able to get through that would be a huge milestone in moving forward and getting through the night. So I brought a light, which I think...
Yeah, it's not just physical, but that's mental also,
right,
and that's key.
And it does help, physically, if it's dark already and you're just now building a shelter or a fire and you're having to gather kindling and whatnot, doing that in the dark can put you at risk as far as physical injury as well. So having that light helps with that as well.
Yeah, and taking care of ourselves is going to be key throughout. So stay tuned for all of our videos, because we're going to be kind of giving our suggestions of what we would put in based on that video's week. So as we go into the next week, so we had the first one again, stop, the next one's first aid, and then it's going to lead into a group of three. Now the group of three has really played a lot in the life, and we are a Christian camp. Everything that we do is faith-based, and there's a lot of threes in the Bible. Now, the threes that we're going to be talking about for this next skill is actually how long we can survive. The average person can be exposed to the harsh elements for about 3 hours until we have issues.
Without any kind of shelter.
Yeah, without shelter. And that's really the summertime, the wintertime, really any time we need that shelter. So next week we're diving into the shelter. And if you can kind of give a glimpse of where we're going to go down the road, 3 days or 3 hours is our shelter, and then 3 days is without water, and 3 days without, or 3 weeks without food. So those are the kind of threes. You'll get a lot of these trainings while we do that video and on the Friday night before we go out to the woods. So stay tuned for that. So next week is shelter. We're actually going to go in the woods, off trail, and we're stoked for that.
Excited.
We're going to make a shelter, and we'll take a video of that. So it's just going to be one demonstration. We had a Facebook challenge, or not challenge, but a choice.
A poll, yeah.
A poll. Asking about you guys. So I wonder which one we're going to build, if maybe it's something completely different.
Maybe.
And it's only going to be with the stuff that we can put in this can or find in the woods, just like you guys coming to the retreat. So we're really stoked for this retreat, and we're stoked for these videos. Now, these videos for the next 6 weeks, actually 5 more weeks after this one, is going to be really based on your guys' input and feedback. So
if they're terrible, let us know.
If we're messing it up, if you can't hear us, it looks horrible, or if this is just, silly information, let us know. Otherwise, share, like, comment, whatever it is. It's on YouTube, or if you're on Facebook seeing this.
Subscribe and click the bell.
Subscribe and click the bell on YouTube. YouTube's new to us, so help us out and follow us on YouTube. And if this works, we'll do some other videos of improvements that we're doing on the property, some how-tos, and kind of leading up to other programs.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked out awayatora.com, that is our website. It has every event that we have upcoming through January, I think, currently on it. We have all of that, like I said, on our website. That's awayatora.com. And then from our website, or if you've been on the website but you haven't followed us on social media, check us out on Facebook and on Instagram. Our Facebook sign is awayatora.wv. Our Instagram sign is awayatora. So follow us on those. We keep that pretty updated with what's going on, the most upcoming events. Links to these videos will be posted on there in case you miss them on YouTube. So yeah, check us out, follow us. That's the best way to keep up with what's going on at Camp Ara.
Yeah, and Jen's going to stay in front of the camera. She's usually producer Jen behind the camera, but our kiddos, we have 5 of them, are going to be taking turns kind of working through, trying to be producer. And Connor's back there right now, but you're gonna get to know both of us a little bit as not just here at Camp Ara, but as a couple. You'll get to see us and learn about our family. So we're stoked. We're excited. Thanks for watching. Share it. Again, we love you guys. Can't wait to see you until next time.